Hello, I'm Stephen Whiteley from Happiness Works, and I am the author of the award-winning book Happiness Works, Get Yours Here. And it's my pleasure to welcome you back to this fourth video on how we can see how happiness works for you to begin ending unhappiness for good in your life. It's been a few years since I've been in that position, and I recognize that that's almost an impossible thing to believe in the beginning. Certainly, I would have never believed it when I started off on this beautiful journey from the depths of unhappiness just a little over a decade ago. So, let me help you to understand a little bit about how this came to be a reality, not only for me, but for also some clients, and how it can actually become a truth for you. So, what I would like to bring to your attention is that, first of all, we are all so much more than we think we are. And because of this, it's important to realize that we are more our mind than we are our body. We tend to think of ourselves as our body, but it is our mind that runs our body. And what we are thinking has a huge impact on our energy level and our health and our appearance. So these things are all linked together, and the key to it all is the mind. There's a great poem by the famous author James Allen, who wrote As a Man Thinketh, and it goes like this. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. And that is the truth. What is going on around us is just a reflection of what is going on inside us. And so, by adapting what is going on inside us, we transform what is going on outside us. So there's been a lot talked about in the last decade or so about, with The Secret movie and the law of attraction. And people are always thinking, well, how do I manifest this into my life? Or how do I manifest more money or more health or a perfect partner or whatever? The truth is, we are always manifesting what it is we're getting. And so learning to use our minds to a more full capacity is really going to allow us to change what we're already manifesting into what we want to be manifesting. So we're here to help you understand how that all works and how you can get more of what you want. It's really only in retrospect that I realized that I was ending unhappiness for good. I had been working on increasing my happiness for over a decade. And then one day I was sitting down thinking about how I was going to bring this message forward to the world. And I realized that it had actually been about 3 years since I'd had any significant unhappiness. And that was a real major breakthrough for me. It was an epiphany, really, to realize that that can actually be true, because at the time I was still dealing with some significant challenges, and at the same time they were not controlling my emotions or destroying me emotionally. So I had found a way that these challenges were actually supporting me growing, and that was supporting my happiness, my increased energy, my health, and my success. And so what I'd like to do in this video is to show you how that works, and so you can understand that it's not just me that it works for anybody who chooses to apply this. So there's really a different a way of looking at the way we're living than what we're doing right now. When we tend to think of things just on the physical level, then we're thinking about how we look, we're thinking about how others perceive us, we're thinking about food, we're thinking about clothes, we're thinking about buying toys, and this is all living on the physical level. Now, we do live on the physical level, there's nothing wrong with that, but we also live on other levels. We live on an energetic level, we live on an emotional level, we live on a spiritual level, and we live on an intellectual level. So there are many levels that we can live on, and the physical level is just the one that is most available to our five senses. However, there is more to life than that. And to demonstrate this more, what I want to do is show you a chart here. So if you take a look at this chart, you will see that on this emotional guidance scale, there's a midpoint where we're going neither up nor down, which is not quite true, but I'll get more into that later. So you have then your high performance scale and your low performance scale, or non-performance scale, you could call it. And in between the two is the state of neutrality, where our energy is okay, not bad, fine, and things are not getting much worse, not getting much better. And going down from that, if you look at the downward spiral, first we get bored, then pessimistic, then we start to get irritated or frustrated. And as that happens more and more, we get overwhelmed, and then disappointed. And then we start to doubt ourselves and our situation, worry about how things are going to get and whether we're going to be okay. And so at that point, we usually start to blame outside circumstances. We start to think, things aren't right around us and things don't work right and everybody else needs to change. And that leads to discouragement, sometimes anger. Some people choose revenge. They get to hatred and rage. They feel jealousy about how other people are doing. And then they start to feel insecurity, guilt, or unworthiness, which gets down into a position of depression or powerlessness, have fear. They feel that they're a victim. And we've all seen this happen. And if you're anything like me, I've certainly been there at different times in my life, up and down this scale. And now, if we look at the other side, we're going upward. We feel content for what we have. And then we are hopeful for more. And then we get optimistic about the fact that it might actually happen, and we start to expect and believe that it can happen. And as we do that, we develop enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm fuels our passion, and our passion then brings us appreciation for everything we're doing, love for life, freedom of choice, empowerment, joy, and learning, and therefore knowledge. And so you can start to see here that the way we're doing things has everything to do with the way that we're being and the way we're feeling, and this has everything to do with what we're gaining and what we're having. Because we know that if you look at the extremes, those that are in depression are not gaining much, and those that are in full love, appreciation, empowerment, and knowledge are the ones that are usually the most successful. So, now maybe you can start to understand a little bit about how we can be ending unhappiness for good and how we can use that to leverage our success. So this is why openness is such an important part of happiness, because what we want to do is open ourselves to be going up the spiral instead of going down the spiral. So as we are then opening ourselves to learning new ways and using new ways and really achieving new levels, then we are on the upward scale. So without openness, we won't even try it. And that's why openness is so important. We don't need to worry about what's going to happen in the end. What's important is to be open to trying something new, to thinking in a new way, to acting in a new way, to having new learnings, to having new revelations, to having new epiphanies. And by doing that, we then start to build our emotional success. And building our emotional success leads to our intellectual success, and it leads to our physical success. So that's why the next step is understanding. Because when we are open to taking that action, open to the new ways, that understanding of what new ways are working better for us and what new ways will bring us more of what we truly want is the key to the next step, which is action. You can take action without any plan, and when we take action without any plan, we normally end up in some kind of nightmare. But when we have a plan, and it doesn't have to be a big plan, it doesn't have to be a fully thought out plan, but it has to be a plan based on some understanding of what it is we want. So if we know what we want, and we ask ourselves, what's the first step, and we start acting on that, then normally we will know what the next step is when it's time to do it, and what the next step after that is when we want to do it. And if we're really lucky, then somebody will show us the way so that we can actually see 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe even the full way of all the steps that we're going to take. And when I started, I didn't know all the steps either. But now that I've been through the process and I'm continuing to go through the process and make it deeper in my life, then I can give you more insight into understanding what the steps are now and what steps will be coming later. And that is indeed my pleasure, because if you think back to the chart that we looked at, the top part is all about not only knowing, but also doing. And so it is then action that takes us up the scale. So action to treat ourselves better, action to give ourselves permission to eat well, to sleep well, to stay fit, to really connect with people, to really embrace love in our life. Love for ourselves, love for what it is we're doing, love for others around us, and love for the good life. This is what it is to be going up the upward scale. So if you understand at this point that the upward scale takes effort and the downward scale causes pain, you will understand there is no free life. We pay one way or the other. So it is better to give out effort and get the reward than it is to spend the pain by trying to preserve effort. So now we have then the three of the steps of the 4 steps that we talked about in our last video. That is first the openness, then the action, then the understanding, and then we have the action. That only brings us one more step that we want to go, and that is, of course, purpose. Because purpose is where our passion lies, and purpose is what brings us to true happiness. It is where we find meaning in life, and meaning is so much better than anything else that you've been trying to get satisfied with. And so, connecting with our true purpose for living is something that Happiness Works has been specializing in for some time and helped dozens of people to do. And if you have ever had this experience, you will understand the incredible importance that it has for everybody. Because you may have experienced or may still be experiencing this idea of wondering what life is about and where you fit in and what is the right thing to do, where is the right job, should I do this, should I do that, trying to weigh all the different options. And this all comes from not knowing what our true purpose is. Because when we understand our true purpose, all of the things that we've been doing in our life that we don't know why we've been doing them will all make sense. Because they have all been supporting your purpose in some way. But without understanding that purpose, it can be a very obstacle-strewn route. So, you can take 2 steps forward and 1 back, or you can go left and right and continually come back through your path instead of staying on your path. And so this idea of having our purpose is really the key to staying happy and to really staying on a successful track. And knowing our purpose and making it happen is what brings us meaning and brings us the truly happy life that we dream of and that we love. And so this is the last step in the Happiness Project. So you will notice that I've stopped talking about unhappiness, and now we're talking about happiness. Because while we can end unhappiness for good, we can't do it by focusing on that. We can do that by focusing on increasing our happiness until the unhappiness has disappeared. So just like you can't wish an empty glass to go away, you must make an empty glass go away by filling it up with water or whatever it is you want to drink. And so in the same way, you can't make unhappiness go away. You must fill yourself up with happiness and love, and then you will notice one day that the unhappiness has gone away. So this is what Happiness Works does. And this is what Happiness Works brings to people and gives to people. And so if you are ready for that kind of life, where you trade in your pain and your stress and your conflict for effort and happiness and hopefulness and enthusiasm and passion and purpose and joy, then come to the webinar on the 23rd of August 2012 at 7 p.m. and you will have the opportunity of a lifetime. You will find out things you never knew before. You will find the keys to ending your unhappiness for good.